איתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי העליון. ויהי מלך מלאכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Hello and Shabbat Shalom. Oh, nice to see everyone on this Erev Shabbat. Little Florida rain for us today. Anyone feel any rain today? Yes. Okay, it rained a little today. Just a little tiny bit. And I think it's God welcoming us into the summer. Thanks, God. And Florida for bringing us into the rain of the summer. Although it wasn't it like a little off on the time? Isn't the rain in the summer usually like in the 3 to 4 o'clock mark? And this was a little bit off. Wasn't it a little off today? I feel like it's just heading into summer. You are, Cantor, this is Cantor Munchnick, by the way, if you don't know. But also, he wishes he was a meteorologist. So he really loves weather. So why don't you share with us your thoughts on the weather today?
God needs an update.
On the weather? All right.
Yeah.
That was it? That's all you got? I thought you were going to do like a whole, like behind the green screen and be like, it's going to shift from the north and move off to the east. I thought you were going to do a whole like thing.
And then we'll be in Groundhog's Day.
We'll be Groundhog's Day? Okay. All right. That's fair. Hope you had a lovely week and that you are also excited to maybe let go of that week and move into a peaceful and lovely, enriching Shabbat. We sure hope so. We have a lot of really nice things going on this weekend here at Congregation B'nai Israel. We have our services tonight. We just had a really nice dinner with what we're calling for the moment our Empty Nesters group. It's the name that we're calling it currently right now, but it was a lovely dinner next door, so we did that. And then tomorrow morning we have our 8:30 service and our Torah study, and then at 10 o'clock tomorrow is our adult Benot Mitzvah service. 4 fabulous women are going to be becoming Benot Mitzvah tomorrow, and then our last Bat Mitzvah of the season, who was 12 or 13, the non-adult Bat Mitzvah of the season is also tomorrow. So there's a lot of.
Yeah, you're going to be busy tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to be busy. Are you taking the day off tomorrow? It's nice. You have to talk about the weather, so you're going to be too busy to do so. If you don't know where the prayer book is, if you're here for the first time, just reach under your seat. It should be right there. Your siddur should be right under your chair. If it's not under your chair, it's hopefully under the chair next to you. Maybe be nice to the person next to you. We have had a couple of different services in here that are both festival services and Shabbat services, so double check the front of your prayer book says Shabbat on it, not weekday and festivals. You might have picked up a weekday and festival book by mistake, so don't use that one. Use one that says Shabbat on it, because it's Shabbat and not a weekday or festival. Hello to our live stream out there wherever you may be. We are confident it is working, and so we are thrilled to have you as well, to be able to be part of our service and chant along and sing along and pray along. You can go and follow us with everything that we're doing on our virtual prayer book, cbiboca.org. Top left corner, hit menu, and then services, and then scroll down a little bit, and the virtual prayer book will be right there for you to follow along with us throughout our service. We're on page 2, either virtually or physically, in whatever book you are using. We're going to invite Karen Blyer to join us to light our Shabbat candles. Again, we're on page 2.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. It's not triggering. Needed a man.
No, that's not true. You just have to figure out the right button.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotov v'tzivanu lahalik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
So Shabbat has officially begun for us as our candles are lit, and now we're going to further sweeten our Shabbat with the words of Kiddush, which can be found on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'vratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim ki vanu vacharta viltanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'vratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
So we brought Shabbat into our midst, and we have also been able to sweeten that time for us these next 25 hours. And we're going to further do that as we enter Kabbalat Shabbat, as we help to invite the Shabbat bride into our midst. We're going to continue with Yedid Nefesh, big page turn. We're going to page 332. 332.
Yedid
We continue in Kabbalat Shabbat and bringing in the Shabbat bride into our midst with Lecha Dodi, pages 20 and 21. You can turn all the way back to page 20 and 21. We'll be doing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. When we get to verse 9, we'll be standing and facing the door to officially welcome the Shabbat bride into our midst. Once again, 20 and 21, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. We'll continue now transitioning away from Kabbalat Shabbat and slowly into the main part of our evening service. And that great transitioner that allows us to do that is Chatzi Kaddish, which can be found on page 26.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בלמד ורחירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לעולמי המאיה יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעולמה, ואמרו Amen.
As we stand in a moment for our call to worship, we are going to do a form of our Baruch Hu with the words, am I awake? And so as we stand and we think, and we transition now to the more center part of our service, we think to ourselves, are we awake? Are we prepared? Are we ready to enter our service? Are we ready to enter Shabbat fully and completely? We stand together, page 28, for the Baruch Hu, Am I Awake?
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam moed, le'olam moed. La 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 la, 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 la 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 la
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בדברו מעריב ערבים בחוכמה פותח שערים ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Aravim. Let's continue at the bottom of page 33 and let's alternate paragraphs. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives what could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael.
Page 36.
And you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your homes and of your gates. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levacha nafshecha umeodecha. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there's a better place, there's a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together, Micha Mocha, on page 40. We are blessed with electricity. We are blessed that when it gets dark outside, we can use the lights in our homes or a flashlight to illumine our way as we traverse whatever darkness we see in front of us. But it was around the year 860 CE, that is the Common Era after zero, that the first prayer book probably was written, and a bit of the words we're about to recite were in that first prayer book. because the rabbis needed to comfort in the prayer books all the people who were walking home from their evening services. The times for the Jewish people were not great to walk around by themselves in general, particularly not at night. And night was a scary place because their ways weren't lit. And so they would scurry home to be with their families, but they would also have these words in their back of their heads, knowing that God is there to shelter us, that God is there to protect us, that God's presence is there to help counsel us, to allow us the strength and the connection to God to defend our enemies and illness and famine and sorrow, because God would spread God's wings over us. And so even though we're blessed with the light of our cars and houses and all the places that we go, we can reflect on the darkness. And maybe the darkness we have sometimes, even though it's light outside, that we can bring that light to ourselves, reflecting on the maybe original prayer book all those years ago, ascribing for us that God would protect us with the words of Hashkivenu, which we can find now on page 42. We continue with the Amidah, now on page 46, and together we stand.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekone Hakol, V'zocher Chaste Avot Ve'imahot, Umevig Geulah Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We take some time now for our own silent prayers, thoughts, and meditations, beginning here on page 52 through page 62. When you're finished, please be seated.
Shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom.
I'm going to share something with you that not a lot of people know about me, and that is that my middle name is Samson. It's actually not Samson. It's the Hebrew word for Samson, which is Shimshon. It's not something I share with a lot of people because it takes up, if you like, you can imagine my driver's license. It's such a lot of letters because my mom wanted this like good Israeli name. So Shimshon is like such a long phonetically spelled name. It takes up all my entire driver's license. And so I want to bring this to your attention because I've been working on it for my whole life, and I just want to share it with you, and thank you for listening. I just want to let it out with you tonight. Shabbat Shalom. We have some announcements for you so if you know anything about Samson, there's a great irony with my name. If you know anything about Samson, what do you know about Samson? His strength came from his hair. So, yeah. So, yeah. So if you know the story of Samson, you also know that he was a representative of something called Nazarite law, which is in this week's Torah portion called Naso. You're going to hear more about this, but by the way, from our 4 fabulous women who are becoming Benot Mitzvah tomorrow. They're going to dip into some of this stuff. I'm not going to touch on what they're talking about. I just wanted to mention that the Torah portion is called Naso, and it has this Nazarite law in it. And if you look at the Nazarite law really, really closely, it's a really like overzealous commitment to God. And so we're not going to talk about it right now. It's a conversation for Torah study or at some other point. But there is a zealousness to it. And when you think of a zealot, what do you think of when you think of a zealot? This is an actual question, not a question I want you to ponder in your seats. What's a zealot when you think of a zealot? Shout it out.
Somebody who goes overboard.
Overboard. Okay, someone goes overboard. Great. Enthusiastic and deep, yes. Extreme. I heard extreme. Thank you. Thank you for the 3 of you who are participating. I appreciate that. Everyone else, just you're thinking, you're processing. I want to thank you for processing very deeply in this moment. I appreciate that. Any other with the term zealous or overzealous? Anything? Yes.
They keep obsessing about it.
Yeah, there's almost an obsession. Yes, so there's an elegance to it in the Torah portion because it connects to God. But if you think of a zealot in general, how many people like a zealot in general? Like, yeah, I'm extreme. How many people? Yeah, no hands are up, by the way. So for those of you in the live stream who can't see, by the way, who are still watching, thank you for staying awake. Also, no one raised their hand here, and so no one's a big overzealous fan. I want us just to think about that for a second, and I want to reflect on the last sort of 36 hours, 48, 36, the last like 2-ish days that I've had. I had the opportunity to go to New York. I just actually arrived back this afternoon from New York, and I went to this interesting conference. It was a reform movement conference, but it was sort of an unsanctioned reform movement conference called Recharging Judaism, and it was in New York at Stephen Wise Temple in Upper West Side, and we had this interesting conversation. And part of the conversation, and now I'm going to share some words that I'm going to borrow, so I want to make sure that they know I'm borrowing them. Some words are from Rabbi Josh Weinberg I'm going to borrow, and some words from Rabbi Larry Hoffman. If you know who these people are, they're very famous. So I'm borrowing some words for them. So just so it's out in the atmosphere, I'm not stealing their words. Don't get overzealous about it, okay, people? Thanks for the one person who chuckled. So yesterday we were at one of our like plenums, one of our conversations, one of our forums, and the concept came up because we were talking about the Torah portion a little bit, and we were also talking about what's happening in Israel and overzealousness, and all the stories sort of popped up, and this idea of being a zealot popped up in the conversation, and there was a panel. And one of the people on the panel was Professor Rabbi Larry Hoffman, who who's written like 9 billion books, and if you don't know him, you should research him and read 1 or 8 of his books because he's incredible. Larry Hoffman, incredible. And so the panel, the mediator asked the panel, talk to us about what it means to be a zealot. And he sat back, Larry sat back, and he said, it's easy. Don't be a zealot. And that's it. That's all he said. And we were like, that's all you got in this great moment with all these rabbis here? And he said, yeah, don't be a zealot. That's it. Just don't. That's ridiculous. Don't go on an extreme. It's ridiculous. Why would we live in any extreme? And so he goes on to say, and this is, I'm going to start to quote a bunch of different people. He says, there's a fine line between being fervent, vehement, and adamant in one's belief and proactive on the one hand, and not being an extremist, a radical, or a zealot on the other. Would we agree that there's a differentiation between those two things? Not if you're conscious. Good. Yes. So, right, there's a difference between, again, being vehement, fervent, adamant, rather than being an extremist, a radical, or a zealot. And so he went on to say, don't be a zealot, because don't be an extremist. And mostly, it got to this Jewish conversation about when you're a zealot, you're actually removing yourself from the community. And if you know about anything about the structure and the basis of Judaism, you're not allowed to extricate yourself from the community. You're not allowed to do it. It's not allowed. Rather, they both kind of go on to say, back and forth, a little bit of Rabbi Weinberg, a little bit of Professor Hoffman. By the way, if you don't know who Rabbi Weinberg is, I should give him full credit. Rabbi Weinberg, Josh Weinberg, he has the longest title. I love him. I've known him for 100 years. I have to write down his title every time I mention it. He is the you ready? You'll see why in a second. He is the vice president of the Union for Reform Judaism for Israel and Reform Zionist, and he's the executive director of the Association of Reform Zionists of America. Did you get all that? He needs like 3 business cards stapled together when he shares what his name is. And so this is the conversation that we're having about overzealousness. And then the conversation, because part of our dialogue that we were spending together these last few days in New York was about Israel. And if you're following what's going on in Israel, by the way, you'll see that there's some overzealousness. There usually is in Israel, but particularly right now, that's happening in terms of conversations and different positions and different pushes in the government and different ministers discussing certain things. And ultimately, I wanted to bring this to your attention. I thought it was interesting. It came as part of the conversation. So if you've taken a ride share service before in your life, I mean like an Uber or a Lyft, raise your hand. Thank you. So in Israel, there is Uber, but it's not very good. It's not as well put together as it is here. And so in Israel, they have something called Get, G-E-T-T. It's their app service. You get the app on your phone, you type in your address, it shows up, it takes you to wherever you go. It's the same thing. There are also taxis in Israel, but you can also do Get. People are moving more away from taxis because you don't have to transact in the same way, right? That's why we like Uber, because you don't have to pull out your money. It's already done. So Get, a few years ago, created something called Get Mehadrin. And Mehadrin is like the holy version of Get. So you could either order, you know how now you can order like an Uber X or a black or a bigger car, a smaller car, the XL. You can like pick which one you want. And the same thing with Get. You could pick which one you wanted. And so one of the ones that they added, I mean the Orthodox, the ultra-Orthodox, added that Get, the kosher version of Get you could pick, will now stop operating its Jerusalem. So this is the argument, because there was this, because you were allowed to order this kosher Get, but that would mean, by the way, that they don't drive on Shabbat, which means that those drivers sign a document to say that they never drive on Shabbat. So you don't have to worry about those. You have kosher drivers, if you will. And the kosher drivers, though, eliminated, by the way, all the traffic for secular and Arabs who were also operating in Get to pick you up, because they wouldn't be allowed to get onto the section of Get because they clearly weren't in the kosher section. And so there was this whole conversation in Israel about the ride share. Can you just try to comprehend the ride share? Was this dialogue that's happening in Israel? And so just why am I telling you this? Because it came up in a conversation, because it's extreme. It fits perfectly into our overzealous conversation. And so now there was this, a mediation. I'll read you this whole little paragraph. It's quick. It says, after 3 years of mediation, the Israel Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism won an important case and took a big step against racism in the Jewish state. Arab taxi drivers sued the Israeli cab calling company Get. Get will now stop operating its Jerusalem-based Mehadrin, the super kosher option, that offered a taxi that is guaranteed not to be driven on Shabbat. However, it was just an excuse to create a cab service to screen out Arab drivers, as Arab drivers are under no obligation to abstain from work on Shabbat. And so it was a tricky way to do this, and actually Get now has to pay X number of, I think it's $1.6 million for these Arab drivers. And so I want us to just think about overzealousness. And we're probably all sitting and thinking to ourselves, I'm not a zealot. I'm a pretty balanced person. But my guess is there's probably something for every one of us that turns us maybe sometimes into a zealot, that we get overly focused on something, that we get overly angry, or we get inflexible about something in our lives. Think of, just as an example, like the way that we operate in our world right now, in the US, where everything's black and white or right and wrong. And we have this inflexibility within us because I think we turn ourselves into zealots a little bit also. Not just the strange ride share system that's in Israel. And so on this Shabbat, I invite all of us to reflect on the possibility that sometimes we get a little overzealous about something. That maybe it's better for us to find a middle ground. Maybe there's a way for us to use a little more eloquence, think of the other a little bit more, be a little more thoughtful, and know what you believe. Hold serious convictions, but not be overzealous. Probably a balance in there somewhere for all of us to find a way to do that. And so on this Shabbat, I offer you not only that balance, hopefully, but also the appreciation that we have the chance to make these decisions, that we have the opportunity, each and every one of us, to not be overzealous. And even for myself, I'm thinking like in my head, a little overzealous Bell. Like, no, you don't have to be so overzealous about something. We can find a way to balance ourselves. And so I hope it's a Shabbat filled with that balance for you. I hope it's Shabbat filled with joy and relaxation. And for me, a Shabbat on reflecting on why my parents named me Shimshon. Shabbat Shalom. We are going to transition now to our prayers for healing and think of those in our community who are in need of physical, emotional, or spiritual healing. We think of Annie Rosenfield, Abigail Menjivar, Asher Ben Karen Fay, Barbara Newmark, Bonnie Kleinman, Daniel Bernstein, David Field, Dr. Elise Karnick, Evelyn Greenfield, Gary Baker, Gary Bandel, Gary Kane, Harav Avraham Ben Yehudit, Howard Kleinberg, Howard Rosenbluth, Ira Kafka, Itza Chana, Bella Bat Rivka, Janet Cohen, Diane Brownick, Yael Bat Sarah, Stuart Benson, Cheryl Cutler, Joanne Primit, Harry Marin, Carol Porowich, Elliot Porowich, Giovanni Shimbrani, Randy Hirschhorn, Sarah Bat Rivka, Stephen Tenner, Joan Seidman, J.R. Morano, Lillian Bushell, Lillian Rosenblatt, Maria Allen, Mark Davis, Naomi Kirstein, Rachel Bat Shoshana, Rena Fields, Richard Rosenbluth, Richard Shankman, Diane Spiro, Robert Kay, Sherry Martin, Shayna Call, Shirley Kafka, Sloan Kasten, Tova Gul, Tova Bat Sarav, Ariel Lev, Zahava Golda Bat Nehemiah, Lisa Bonaire, Ryan Seidman, Stanley Geddes, Eric Kupferberg, Beth Spector, Salvari Shambari, Roy Schwedelson, Alka Kayla, Miriam Sarah Bat Gittel Tova, David Newmark. To those names, we had any name that you'd like to add at this time.
Shoshana Malko Batsima Golda and Mark Recklin.
Mishbeach can be found on page 253. Some announcements for us on behalf of the synagogue. First, Mazel Tov to the Cohen, Kahn, Schwartz, and Weber families on the Benot Mitzvah tomorrow. Yay! Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Join us. It's going to be a great, wonderful, incredible service. It'll be just under the 4-hour mark, so it should be really, really nice. Just kidding. It will not be a long service. It will be lovely. Under 4 hours? What's your call?
If I do it.
Yes, if you do it. Great. Well, is someone else coming? Do I have a choice? Because that would be amazing. Maybe I'll just sing. We want them to enjoy their time. Also, Mazel Tov to to the Glasson family for Ella's bat mitzvah also tomorrow. Our Torah's learning service tomorrow, 8:30 in our chapel. As a reminder, speaking of the chapel, this is the last service in the sanctuary until we switch to our summer location. So starting next week, Friday and Saturday, and throughout the summer until the end of August, we will be having services in the chapel instead of the sanctuary. So soak in the sanctuary. Great. And then next week we will start in the chapel. Join us for CBI Book Club on Thursday, June 15th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. The book is Last Summer at the Golden Hotel. And of course, the super famous and incredible Mahjong Club, hosted by our President Sharon Landau, takes place in the Hollander Family Chapel on Tuesdays at 2 new times. 6:30 p.m. On Thursdays and 6:30 p.m. And on Thursdays at 10:30. Yeah, 10:30 a.m. Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Beginners are welcome. Come and play. He's amazing, by the way. He's a whiz at Mahjong. Are you? No. Great. And also, it is June 2nd, so it is our time for celebrate our birthdays. So if you have a birthday in June, we'll ask you to please stand up if your birthday's in June. I'm standing, my birthday's in June. Yes. Birthdays in June. No, yeah, keep standing. We're going to bless you. Keep standing. I didn't say stretch if it was your birthday in June. I said stand if your birthday was in June. What day? 11. 11. Also 11? Huge. Yes? 18? 24. I'm 12.
Dina's standing.
Oh, and Dina. Gina's with us. Dina's the same day, right?
As you.
As me, yes. 12. Yeah, June 12th. Yeah. What is that? I am 12 years old. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm on June 12th along with Dina. Only the greats. I don't know. On June 12th, by the way, we share a birthday with George Herbert Walker Bush.
Fantastic.
I know. That's just. I knew that fact. He's the old person that I know.
Now I can sleep.
Now we're going to. You can sit back down if you want to. But thank you for standing. We're going to do a little singing.
Yom Uledet Sameach, Yom Uledet Sameach, Yom Uledet Sameach, Yom Uledet Sameach.
Hey. Rabbi Silvers is also in June. So Rabbi Silvers is also a June birthday. At some point when I first got to CBI, every single person who worked at CBI had a June birthday.
And then I came.
And then you came, and the whole thing went down. Yeah. The whole thing went down. I mean, just the birthdays, not the whole thing went down. Right. I just meant the birthdays. This is awkward. This is awkward. Okay. Yes, he's over. Thank you. You were listening. You were the one person listening, and I appreciate that. We are going to begin to conclude our service. Aleinu can be found on page 282, and together we stand.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We think of our loved ones whom death has recently were taken from us, and those who died in this season and years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be for a blessing. The yortzites that occur for us this week: Samuel Klein, Therese Harris, Margaret Coburn, Irving Hirschhorn, Joseph Young, Renee Peretz, Irving Taylor, Max Davis, Joseph Peretz, Esther Berman, Rose Lyman, Irving Cohen, Mildred Strom, Aaron Rosen, Sydney Shapiro, Constance Perkins, Philip Feidler, Shirley Cooper, Judd R. Breakstone, Anna Gershon, Natalie Gordon, Lillian Lifton, Morton Rosenbluth, Doris Safter, Leah Shankman, Edith Bandel, Lillian Lifton, Robert Villandre, Yitzhak Kurtz, Herneman, Harold Shear, Sally Port, Gertrude Gonzer, Cynthia Rosenkrantz, Arthur Adler, Irene Miller, Nathan Ozer. To those names, we had any name that you would like to add at this time. Kaddish Tom Moners Kaddish 294. Yitkadal v'kadash mirabah, ve'alma divrach riyuteh, ve'amlich malchuteh, v'chayechon v'meichon v'chay dechol beit Israel, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולמי עולמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה, שמי לקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה עד אמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. Please be seated. We close today with Tfilat HaDerech, which can be found on page 345. Tfilat HaDerech, our blessing for our healthy goings out into the world. And we even just heard at dinner that we have family who is kid is actually mid-flight right now to Israel. So we are sending lots of love and support and safe landing directly into delicious hummus.
May we be blessed as we go on our way. May we be guided in peace. May we be blessed with health and joy. May this be a blessing. Amen. May we be sheltered by the wings of peace. May we be kept in safety and in love. May grace and compassion find our way to every soul. May this be a blessing.
We'll do a quick motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Adonai oz lamo iten, Adonai barech et amo v'shalom. May God, who gives us strength, continue to bless us with love and strength and peace as we move forward from this congregation with Filat HaDerech, with the blessings, as we enter in the same blessings as we exit. Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Shabbat Shalom. As a reminder, Oneg is in the rotunda, in the Rosenthal Rotunda tonight, straight out the doors. Shabbat